We're back again, Shed2Ed, episode 36, NFL Week 4. Let's go, baby. Super Bowl round 1. Chiefs and the Eagles are the first picks this week.
Let's go. I had first pick. We already knew that from last week, so before Sunday even started, before I even got to see the guys play, I took the Chiefs this week. They're playing against the Jets. Should be a nice and easy matchup for them. They weren't the biggest favorite on the card there. The 49ers were lurking around, but I didn't have the odds yet. I was just going with my gut. And my gut says the Chiefs are going to win handily, very easily. The Jets have a decent defense, but it's just not enough to stop Patrick Mahomes. You know, the Chiefs' defense actually has started looking up since Chris Jones came back for that holdout, and the Jets have absolutely nothing going on offense unless they get a lucky one to Garrett Wilson. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, rest in peace to the Jets offense. I'm dealing with the Commanders defense, playing with the Eagles. They're only 2-1. It's just the Commanders. Eagles are 3-0. We're on fire. Fly, Eagles, fly. I'll see them get it done round 1 of the draft. 49ers and Cowboys, round 2 of the picks. We're talking the top tier teams. Although the Cowboys had a pretty embarrassing loss last week, I'm hoping that they right the ship.
You see that happen a lot of times. Like, they'll kind of regress back towards the norm, and they'll return to form there. You know, Belichick's Patriots are not always the easiest matchup there, but they haven't looked very good. Patriots have kept everything a little bit close. Their defense seems to be okay. Offense doesn't really have much clicking going on yet. I think Micah Parsons and the Cowboys defense should be able to feast. They have lost Trevon Diggs half recently there, and you can see that they suffered last week without him. But the Cowboys are just a much better team than the Patriots are.
49ers, your second pick. I'm just hoping the Cowboys stop playing like crap. I don't have a great reason to back the Cowboys. It's mostly spread reason. Why are you leaning 49ers so early in this draft? Why was it so important to pick them up?
Well, the 49ers are playing against the Cardinals, so we seen the Cardinals beat up on the Cowboys last week, but it was mostly just a fluke, right? So the 49ers have looked absolutely solid, dominant in every one of their matchups so far. They're 3-0, facing against the poverty Cardinals. I think this one's kind of a no-brainer for me, and 49ers are just going to win it.
Round 3 of the draft, you took the Chargers. Who are they playing against, and why do you think they're in such a good position this week?
Yeah, the Chargers, their offense looked dominant in the first couple of matchups, but their defense has been kind of letting them down recently. But I think they're going to kind of right the ship. The Raiders don't have that much of a dominant offense whatsoever. It pretty much just runs right through Davante Adams. Now, Davante Adams should be able to feast there, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think, to take on the Chargers. The Chargers spread is like -5.5. I don't think I'm going to go anywhere near that because I don't think they're going to win a game by 7 points or 6 points or so. So I don't really trust the spread at all, but I do feel comfortable taking them in the draft here just to win on money line.
On my matchup here, I got Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins. We were hoping they were going to click since week 1. They've been getting it done. They are performing well this season. They got to worry about homie J.C. Horn. Is that the defenseman that's going to be trying to shut them down?
Yep.
Let's hope that the Vikings offense can just string some shit together. Vikings offense, let's go, baby.
Yeah, you do have J.C. Horn there on the defense, probably shadowing Justin Jefferson. So they're going to try and neutralize the Vikings' best weapon there. But you know, you might see a couple of other guys like KJ Osborne or Jordan Addison pop up, make an appearance, and we'll see if Cam Akers, the running back that Minnesota traded for last week, see if they get him into the mix there as well. We probably got Andy Dalton again for the Panthers there because number 1 overall pick Bryce Young is out again this week. So we'll likely see the Minnesota Vikings pass defense get absolutely shredded again, but this time by Andy Dalton. We'll see if he puts up another 300 yards this week.
Round 4 of the draft. Now the picks are starting to get a little iffy. You took the Jaguars. I got the Colts. Really weird matchup for the Colts taking on the Rams. Colts on -1.5. I think that line has shifted. It's just a money line pick 'em now.
It's just a pick 'em now, yeah. A lot of money coming in on the Rams is what that means. The Colts, I think the Colts open up as favorites here because they beat the Ravens last week, but the Ravens, they more so lost that game as opposed to the Colts beating them. The Rams have been actually looking fairly decent. Everyone expected them to look pretty buns at the beginning of the year, but the defense has been pretty solid so far, and Matt Stafford seems to be back in form. Their rookie, Puka Nacua, has been filling in quite well for Cooper Kupp. We have another week without Cooper Kupp before we see him come back in week 5. But the Rams and the Colts, that one's anyone's game. Jaguars haven't looked great in a couple of weeks. They won in week 1, but then they lost to Chiefs after their defense kind of shored up there. But then they lost a pretty miserable one to the Texans. They lost by about 20 points last week. I'm not comfortable taking them exactly, but who are they playing against?
Let me check. Jags are playing Falcons Sunday, October 1st.
Okay. Yeah, so I wasn't super comfortable taking the Jaguars this week, especially after watching them last week, but they basically have a home away from home game there in London. They play there every year. The record is a mishmash of wins and losses there, but the Falcons last week, they did absolutely nothing. Detroit doesn't have a great defense, and Falcons couldn't even put up a touchdown on them last week. They got 2 field goals. So we're going to take the Jaguars, kind of return to form. Moving on to round 5 in the draft, we got the Broncos and we got the Dolphins. So 2 opposite ends of the spectrum there. The Dolphins had just beat the Broncos by 50 points, laying down a 70 burger on them last week.
A 70 burger.
But yeah, we got the Broncos facing against the Bears, 2 0-3 teams. Absolute garbage game that's going to be on TV here, but the Bears, I'd fade anybody against the Bears. They look terrible. They look like first overall pick kind of caliber right now. Justin Fields is playing as bad as Mitchell Trubisky. They're a last bust at quarterback. So I'm taking the Broncos. I'm laughing about it. I'm not betting on this game. Broncos are 3.5-point favorites. I'm not taking that, and I'm not betting anything, a cent on the Bears. No way. Dolphins. Dolphins is an interesting one.
I'm just hoping that the momentum is on their side. That's like the first team since 1966 to have a 10-touchdown game. Like, I'm just hoping there must be some magic in that hat, Frosty the Snowman style, baby. I'm just hoping things are just clicking for a little bit and we can ride a back-to-back win.
Yeah, I feel you. It's crazy to me that a team can put up 70 points in 1 week and they come back the next week and they're 3-point underdogs. No books are giving out the 3-point number. Everyone's trying to give you plus money on the plus 2.5 on the Dolphins, and it's still not a bad bet to take, but it's crazy. But honestly, you got to give respect to the Bills. They lost that week 1 stinker against the Jets on a punt return in overtime, but since then they've had like a 34-point win and a 28-point win against the Raiders and the Commanders, but that's not much competition. They're no Miami Dolphins. This is a real test here for the Buffalo Bills, and Miami could absolutely get that one done. Don't blame me at all.
Last year, the Bills definitely had an aura of invincibility for far too long. I think that has cracked. That is over with. I'm not scared to bet against the Bills anymore.
Yeah, the week 1 showing just showed their cracks there, but this is going to be a real test, and we'll see what kind of team the Bills are made of this week.
Again, with some more iffy picks. You took the Bengals. It's been a tough season for a Bengals fan so far.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on with Joe Burrow's health. He's got a calf injury. He doesn't do a whole lot of scrambling anyway, so it shouldn't really slow him down. But he doesn't really have that same drive on his throws. T. Higgins hasn't been looking all that great. Jamar Chase kind of looked pretty good last week, but I can see the defense starting to solidify there going forward, and I think that is kind of an underrated part of the Bengals game. People don't give their defense a whole lot of respect, and I think that their defense is going to be able to eat this week. The Tennessee Titans, they've got Derrick Henry, they've got DeAndre Hopkins, but they don't have much else. They have a really, really bad offensive line, and they got Tannehill spreading that ball around as he tries to. So I think the Bengals defensive line are going to be absolutely destroying the Titans offensive line, and they're going to be stacking that box hard. Ravens are playing the Browns in Cleveland. They are also dogs.
Ravens against the Browns is a bit of a wacky pick this week, I'm not going to lie, because the Browns have just been on fire with the defense. They've allowed like 21 first downs. In 3 games, they've allowed 21 first downs. The next best team has allowed 41. So the Browns defense has been on fire. And the Ravens, again, their offense, I don't know where it is, Steven. You're always hyping the Ravens, and I kind of just been waiting for their offense to shine a little bit. I know Last year, Lamar was injured. This year, they're not exactly on fire. The fire has not risen yet.
Yeah, they had a big setback after J.K. Dobbins went down. And then, Gus Edwards was hurt last week, and he went out of the game early. So we're kind of signing some practice squad guys and some random fellas. Justice Hill was hurt there too. Odell Beckham was hurt. Ravens are always dealing with injuries. But if we pay Lamar the big bucks, he's got to be able to put the team on his back. And he just hasn't really done that. He rushed for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. Just wasn't enough. The Browns last week, they looked tremendous. Now, both sides of the ball, they looked absolutely dominant. But that's because they played the Titans. Titans are pretty garbage. So that's kind of what's going on with the Browns. Browns are 3-point favorites in Cleveland. Ravens are 11-4 under John Harbaugh in Cleveland over the last 15 years. So they could absolutely get it done. Now, Cleveland's won the last 2 years matchup there. But with those injury concerns, you don't really know what Ravens team is going to show up here. Both teams are missing a lot of ground components there, multiple running backs getting hurt. And you can't gloss over this matchup without acknowledging Nick Chubb's absence from the Browns. So Ravens do allow a lot of lead backs to rush for 100 yards. They probably will allow that young guy, Ford, to do the same thing on him, just like Zach Moss did on him last week. So if both ground games are fairly even there, I think Deshaun Watson might have a bit of an edge in the air against the Ravens' dismal passing defense. We got a lot of defensive backs that are hurt or just not great. All right, next round.
Next round sees the Seahawks for your next pick and the Saints for my last pick of the draft. The Saints and the Bucks, a lot of injuries on both sides of the field. Derek Carr still out with a busted shoulder, and we got Mr. Jameis Winston in the driver's seat. He performed not great last week, never got a touchdown to his name, never handed the ball to the other team either, so whatever.
Yeah, that's true. You got to take care of the ball first and foremost. But Jameis Winston's kind of like one of the premier backups. He's one of the better backups in the league, what I would say. Does he have enough to get it done? We'll see. But if you trust your defense and you don't get too aggressive, you do put yourself in a position to win. So the Saints defense looks pretty solid this year, and we got Alvin Kamara back from his 3-game suspension. So he's fresh, he's hungry, and he's going to be looking to work. And I think Kamara is probably going to give him a big edge this week.
A lot of hype for Kamara when I was doing my research for this matchup. Let's get it done, baby.
Yeah, aren't you a Saints fan? Very excited for his return.
I am. I've been up all night.
Yeah, I got Kamara in a few leagues, man, and I'm waiting for him to come back. I have been waiting. I've been missing him. He's my boy. Seahawks and Giants, a pick'em in New York. That's kind of interesting. I gotta say, I'm surprised that the Seahawks aren't really favorites in this one. They probably were, but I guess there's money coming in on the Giants. The Seahawks defense hasn't really been there. I think both teams, Seahawks and the Giants, are 29th and 30th in points allowed per game. So you can kind of expect this one to go over. The Giants have had their offensive struggles. I think Seahawks are starting to pick it up on offense. You just mentioned while we were talking there, Zach Charbonnet is probably going to bust out this week. They've given the ball to Kenneth Walker a lot the last few matchups, but they're kind of easing Charbonnet, the rookie, in there. So if they get that two-headed monster at running back going, and they have DK Metcalf healthy this week, they have Tyler Lockett, and they're mixing in Jackson Smith and Jigba, you can really see the Seahawks really clicking this week in New York. I'm taking the over, and I'm probably betting on the Seahawks there as well.
Bit of extra pepper on this one.
Yeah. Moving on to the final matchup.
That's the Texans, isn't it? The Steelers are playing the Texans.
Steelers are playing against the Texans, yeah. Yeah. Man.
Now, the Texans quarterback has been showing up a little bit. He might have his little moment and time to shine. So are you worried about the defense of the Steelers? Because apparently it's not terrible.
Yeah, the Steelers are always known to have a decent defense, and TJ Watt looks good already. But Texans have a pretty miserable offensive line. They're going through a lot of injuries. They're shuffling everybody around, and you can just tell that TJ Watt's going to absolutely feast. He's got a good jump on the ball. He's probably going to get 2 or 3 sacks. I'm not going to lie. He's probably going to come in with 2 or 3 sacks, force fumble, or something like that. But probably a couple passes batted down. It's going to be shades of JJ going on in his prime this week. But, back to the Texans, back to CJ Stroud. He looked good last week. The Jags aren't a team to just underestimate, and they made him look silly. Tank Dell showing out as a rookie. Damian Pierce is starting to get going there. The offense just started to click. Steelers have a good defense. Will they slow down? Yes. Will they put up 37 points like last week? No. So it's going to be a tight one. There's a reason why this one's the last pick of the draft. Houston's at home. They lost their home opener, but Steelers just went out to Vegas and won there. So I'm still leaning with the Steelers here, but this one's anyone's game.
Where's the over/under on this game going to be? Is this going to be a low-scoring game, or is it just both teams grinding nowhere? Just a lot of just meat grinding in the middle of the field?
I think so. Yeah. So it's going to be a decent defense going against a decent offense. It's going to be the Steelers' defense versus the Texans' offense. The other side of the ball, Pittsburgh looks okay on offense, and, Houston looks okay on defense. That's pretty much it.
That's our draft.
That's the draft. I'm going to post some gambling picks as we get closer to Sunday kickoff. I don't think I'm going to have them in before the London game, but I'm probably betting on the Jags on that game, so you can lock that one in now if you're watching. And let's go, baby.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go, baby.